This is Leah Steele. Welcome to the Wealth Witch podcast. Just a few years ago, I experienced complete financial collapse. We lost a business, our home, and a car. My husband was selling plasma to pay for diapers and formula. I was living a life I hated, and I was miserable. It was the lowest part of my life. It ended up being my biggest blessing. Just a few short years later, I've designed the life of my dreams. I live a life of luxury in beautiful Bali, Indonesia, travel the world, and spend my days helping others manifest wealth and abundance. Living a purpose-led life changed everything for me. This podcast is about my journey, my top tips and tools for manifestation, and interviews with all the amazing, world-changing, inspiring people I meet along the way. Welcome to my world.
Hey, Zapheria. Welcome.
Hello,
I'm
Leah.
so glad to have you. So I am here with today Zapheria Bell, who is a dear friend of mine, first and foremost, but she is a director of the Spiral Institute and the co-creator of the Womb Spiral. So many of you hear me talk about the spiral. I'm an advanced spiral practitioner. And so that's actually how I met Zapheria. And we've just become really good friends over the last several years. And so I invited her on the podcast for a couple of reasons. One, because I just always love to catch up with her. And we actually recorded a really amazing episode of this podcast last year, but the audio did not come through. And we were literally in a studio and the audio didn't get recorded. So this is a do-over.
Yeah.
But I think it's so perfect that it's a do-over because Zapheria has an amazing book that just launched called The Blue Diamond Souls. So I wanted to talk to her about that anyway. So I'm so happy that you're here. Welcome. Thanks for taking your time to come and chat with us today.
Thank you. You know, I love chatting with you. There's always fun things that come out when we get into the same space. So I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're both in Bali at the moment. Zapheria was supposed to leave shortly before the whole outbreak happened, but she got stuck here in paradise with me in Bali. We haven't seen each other actually, but she's not too far from me. And we're laughing because we're also videoing this and it will be available on my YouTube channel after the podcast episode releases. But we're both sitting in our bedrooms with our mosquito net on our beds behind us. So we're here in beautiful Bali, Indonesia, enjoying and loving that tropical life.
Yeah.
So you just launched your book.
I did like a week ago.
So that was exciting. Let's talk about the censorship that happened with the book.
Oh my God. I knew you'd go straight to it.
Because we're not censored here. Yeah, because we're not censored here.
I love it.
Anywhere that we're not censored, I want to talk about the censorship.
I love not being censored. Yeah, like it was this wild experience, right? We launched the book and I was just getting flooded with all these messages from people saying like, hey, it says it's not available. I can't get it. I can't buy it. Yet some people could, other people couldn't. And it took like a good 24 hours of like, what on earth is going on until we figured out, well, has partly censored me because I said what is apparently the new swear word, which is spoke vaccinations in there. Like, I think it's maybe mentioned like 2 or 3 times by the Blue Diamond Souls in just like a one-liner, but like that was enough for Amazon to decide that like not everybody should be able to read my book since freedom of speech is being destroyed. And I love the fact we were trying to figure out like, is this actually what happened? And our publisher was sharing, you know, in our private Facebook group, hey, we think she's been censored because of this line. And when he spoke that line, it got censored on Facebook as well. So, you know.
Yeah. So Zapheria and I did a online book writers retreat together where she wrote The Blue Diamond Souls and I began to write Wealth Alchemy, my book that's coming this summer. And so we share a publisher and have kind of been going through this launch process together. So that's been really fun. Zapheria did an epic job of launching her book. And there's a little bit of frustration there in the beginning because people weren't able to buy this amazing book that she's like poured her heart and soul in the last, you know, how many months of your life has this book been coming?
Yeah. I mean, it's been my solid attention for 3 months, you know, and a massive investment of like, you know, time, emotions, and of course money as well. It's like it's a big thing to spend 3 months doing this. So then I had this like, you know, 6-hour launch that had such highs and beauties in it, and then also such frustrations and confusion and this piece as well of like, wow, how do I now stand by this in the world? Because I have been taking a back seat and not being forward in the argument that's in the world right now around vaccinations, I've been choosing, I don't want to be in that argument. And then I kind of was thrown into it because my entire book was censored because that was in there a couple of times.
Yeah. So we'll definitely put a link below of a place that you will be able to purchase the book, right? We've got some alternative publishers and alternative ways of purchasing the book. So we'll definitely drop a link in the description of the podcast so that you can purchase the book. I really recommend that you do. I bought 30 copies and I'm like super excited to start giving them away. So tell us a little bit about the book, the premise of the book, and tell us about the Blue Diamond Souls.
I mean, the Blue Diamond Souls have been, I guess, communicating with me for about 2.5 years, and it's taken me that long to really be able to step into the world and be their voice. The Blue Diamond Souls are they're a high vibrational soul that are coming through at the moment, and they're here to help us as humanity make massive and rapid shift in the way we live, basically. And, they've been asking me for a good 2 years to write a book and to be their voice publicly. And I just had to go through my own personal stuff around that of am I okay with standing in the world now and saying, hey, I'm a medium. There's something that I do that's really different. And it got to the point where it's this is not about me. I need to step the hell aside and let this work come through and, I guess almost practice what I preach. I support other women and saying, stand into your power and really step into the world and bring your gifts because the world needs that now. And so the book was really me, putting on my big girl panties and being okay, this is a big thing to bring into the world, but the world needs it right now. And, as we wrote it in January, and to think that by the time it published just what was it, a week and a half ago, what the Blue Diamond Souls had to say in that book now makes even more sense to me than what it did at the time of writing. And there's this piece of just, I guess for me, trusting the timing that it needed to come through right now and the message needs to be heard right now. Yeah, I mean, writing the book was a big initiation phase even for myself. I mean, you were writing a book as well, you know how intense that process was. But for me, there was a lot of really, the way I wrote it is I was being the medium to the Blue Diamond Souls and voice recording it. And then, putting that into a transcription software to put that into the book. And so it's written by both me and them, there's this co-creation between the two of us. But I'm super excited by what they have to say in the world, to be totally honest. And I'm deeply freaking honored that they've chosen to speak through me.
That's amazing. So there are already Blue Diamond Souls that are here on this planet.
Yes.
And give us an idea of how long have they been coming?
It's interesting that there were some early comers, I guess, around about, I've met 2 Blue Diamond Souls who are 20 and 21. And so really actually quite difficult for them to have come in that much earlier than everybody else. But it's their process, I guess, was to come and start to plant the seeds and to learn even what it's like to be in this dimension. But the rest of them really have been coming through for about 6 years-ish. And then now they're starting to come through really strong. But there are many here who are, I guess, misunderstood. And a big part of my journey of writing this book is how do we support those who are already here to really receive the guidance that they need? And also how do we support the women to be able to conceive the ones who are coming through? But, the ones that are here, they're different. They're misunderstood by some people. And I'm they require a different level of parenting. Actually, they don't even call it parenting. It's guardianship. Yeah, there's lots of them around the six-ish, 6 and younger. There's a few between, I guess, 6 and around 15, 16. And then there's just very small number older than that.
Yeah. So obviously I'm super fascinated by all things Blue Diamond Souls because I have a little Blue Diamond Soul in my house.
Yes, you do.
So my youngest, Jack, who will be 6 in July, actually, and it's so funny, when you say the thing about guardianship, I'm yep. It's not a traditional parent-child relationship. It's I'm absolutely here to care for him, but not to really tell him what to do. And it's been really interesting. And luckily, I think Sean and I were aware enough when he was born that he was different and that there was something very, very different about him than our other children. And so we were able to kind of let him lead the way, which he does in every aspect and area of his life. Like if you try to control him, if you try to manipulate him, it's like he cannot be manipulated no matter how hard you try. Like it's not even possible. I'm fascinated by the whole subject matter. I'm really excited that you've got this body of work out in the world now. You know, for me, it was so interesting to like talk to you about the Blue Diamond Souls and be like, oh my gosh, somebody gets it. Like somebody gets it, because people just think I'm crazy. Like they are like, oh, why don't you get control of your kid? Like, why do you let your child do that? Why does it appear like he's parenting himself? And it's not, I mean, certainly like we are providing guardianship and care. But I really feel like my number one job with Jack is to make sure that he doesn't get hurt and, you know, provide some kind of education, but he's really driving that himself as well. And to teach him, for him in particular, there's this piece around kindness and compassion for human beings, like humanity, that is a big piece of like what I feel like my role is with him.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've been super excited to meet Jack. It's like, I mean, I adore him. And I think it's because I do see that, like right from the first day I met him, I'm like, oh, right. Okay. So he's one of these souls and he knows what he wants. You can't tell them what they want in this world. All you can do is stand by them and support that. And like what I was excited about when I met him is that he is in that environment where he's safe, but he also gets to express as he needs to express, which is super cool. Because I think like that's what I'm hoping through this book, to be able to support other parents to see there's not something wrong. You don't need to medicate them. They're not bad. You're not a bad parent. Like this is just actually who they are. And it's freaking amazing and sensational. And the more we can do to support them to be in that freedom, then the more we're supporting our own humanity to shift.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is quite common with them, right, as well. So Jack had, he talked really early, but then he completely stopped talking. And he had lots of what was diagnosed occupational therapy issues, sensory processing disorder. So for a while, it appeared that there was a lot wrong with him. And that's sort of how he was being diagnosed, right? Is that there were all these things that he needed additional support in treating, I guess. And then it was really funny because as soon as we stopped treating those things and we just went, well, this is how he is, and it's not a disorder, it's a gift, like he just flourished. So talk maybe a little bit about that, about how we're trying to put them in these boxes of they have this diagnosis or they have this thing wrong with them, or there's this thing that needs to be rehabilitated or fixed.
Yeah. And like that's, I guess, because they're different, and as humans, we just don't know. Like, I guess what I see as parents, the natural way is to seek support. And the way that we do seek support is usually from like a medical professional of some sort. And unfortunately, they also don't understand. Like they have not seen children like this before. So it does mean then they end up getting diagnosed with all sorts of things that I don't believe that they have, and sometimes put on medications that I feel are quite harmful for them, actually. And it's not through anyone wanting to harm them. Like, I don't know a single parent in this world that would want to do anything to harm their child. They're trying to find the answer and the best way to lovingly support this child. But actually what they need is to have that freedom, which does make things really difficult on a parent, because they're going to push back on you. They will not, like you've already said, that he won't be controlled. They don't have the same conditioning that we have, and they won't allow it to be placed upon them. And so as a parent, any conditioning that you have is going to get thrown into your face. And, needing then to hold your own and to parent a child that's also like different and sometimes kind of losing their shit, really, it's not easy, right? And so what they really do need is to be understood. They do have sensory sensitivities. So when they are doing things that seem really different, is actually to ask, you just try and like ask what support do they need. They probably need to be put into a quiet room, or have different lights, or put, soundproof headphones on them for a while, or move them away from certain people, because they feel and they sense everything and it's highly overwhelming for them. So rather than thinking that we know the answer and what to do for them, is asking them like, hey, what do you need? Like, how is this? If I turn this light down, does that feel better? Does this feel better if I put these headphones on? And trusting that they're gonna, whether they even got their words yet, they're gonna communicate with you, and just trying as best you can to hold a level of patience as best you can. We're freaking human. Nobody's going to hold that all the time, but to just keep on practicing and playing with them. And one of the things they say as well is like, don't hide your emotions from them. Like, if it's driving you crazy and you're going completely nuts and you don't know what to do for them, is actually just, it's okay to like say to them, hey, I don't know how to help you right now. I'm really frustrated. I'm really upset because I don't know what's the best thing to do for you, rather than try and hide it, because they feel everything. They feel your emotions. They hear your thoughts. So to me, it's like, how do we understand that they're genius, not that there's something wrong?
Yeah.
And how do we work together to find what is the best way and the best solution for them? Because it's not going to be the same for every child.
Yeah. That's epic. So I would love to know if the Blue Diamond Souls would be open to sharing some information with us today, obviously realizing that they may want to and they may not. But the thing that I'm really curious about, and I think that the listeners of this particular podcast would be really interested to know, what is wealth and financial support? What is that going to look like for them? How do we support them to step into creating a livelihood for themselves? And I'm imagining that teaching them about that stuff is going to be quite different than we've traditionally taught our children. And what is the relevance, and what is their need to know how to manifest and how to create? And yeah, so I'm interested to know, like, how can we best support them, and and for them to be able to support us to help them, I guess, would be the question that I would ask, if they're open to it.
If they're willing. So I was, kind of sharing with you before, they've not spoken to anyone other than my partner before, but I can feel, as you're asking, I can feel like my whole crown's tingling. So it seems like they're open to the question. And I guess, the way for me that it tends to work is I need to get myself out of the way and allow them to come in, which does mean I just kind of need to go silent for a minute and move myself out of the way. And then we'll see what they've got to say. I guess, one of two things is or one of three things, but like if they'll come through, which it feels like they're going to, they'll either just start talking because they've heard your question, or if they're not going to just start talking, I might just kind of like put my finger up, which lets like they're here and ready and you can just ask a question. But and if that's the case, then it's just like asking a really clear question and let them run with the answer and see what happens. So we hear you asking a question about money and about wealth and about the support and the guidance of us as Blue Diamond Souls as we come into this world. We do have answers that we would like to share with you on this, but what we would ask for you first is, do you have a more specific question, or would you like us to just speak into this topic for you?
I'm happy to have you speak. The specific question would be, how do we support you, and what are your needs around guidance pertaining to wealth, money, acquiring, accumulating wealth, resources, utilizing resources, and then anything else that you want to share?
Sure, thank you. So there's a few things that we feel to speak into here. One is that the dimension that we currently reside in, which is the 12th dimension, the thing that you speak of as being actual money is not a current experience for us. So when we do come here into what is currently your third dimensional realm, we don't really have an understanding of what this particular currency is. Where we are from the 12th dimension, actually everything just appears for us in real time. It literally is for us that we can just sit and meditate and think, and what we need appears and arrives for us. So for us to be coming here, there is some confusion for us on how you seem to do this experience of like trade and exchange is what we see, which is not at all actually what we have in our dimension. It is not, I will do something for you in return for you to necessarily pay me with money, as what you call it. For us, it is just simply everything comes from the heart and everything comes from love. And so therefore I bring my gifts and you bring your gifts, knowing that we are always completely supported in abundance in all areas. Yet we understand that on the third dimensional reality where you currently are, this is not your reality. We do believe that there is the opportunity for you to move to this reality, yet there is a lot of work that needs to happen in your field for this experience. And so for us coming, there are a few levels here. It's a two-way teaching. One is to not necessarily give us your dogmatic approach on exactly how money works and how wealth works and how abundance works in the world, yet to also listen to us when we are letting you know that there is another way. There is a way to, in fact, create instant manifestation. So the balance here is to not give us your dogmatic approach so that we lose our own understanding and our own ability to bring that instant manifestation, yet to just simply guide us in how it currently looks in your reality right now, but also being open to asking us, even as children, like, what is it that we see? What is our experience? How do we see this energy that you call money or wealth? Which what we find is interesting right now in your dimensional realm is that money as such that you would hold in your hand is something that is not going to be within your realm much longer. In fact, you are moving to a more digital experience of wealth accumulation and of abundance. Although this may seem like a confusing step for many of you, and we do see that there will be a financial depression, like a financial collapse that happens from this experience, what we do see is actually it is the opportunity to move you forward into a new way of thinking, into a new way of creating, and take you away from what it is that you need to hold. It's almost like currently you have this energy of needing to hold, accumulate, keep tight within your hands, instead of the energy of understanding that wealth or money or finances, as you call it, is an energy that needs to flow more easily. And the more easily that it can flow between hands, the more that you start to understand that you can receive more abundance when you are not holding on to it. So there is this two-way street of both learn and teach, yet to support us so that we begin to be able to work currently within your system as you have it now, to be able to just teach us what that system is extremely helpful, because part of what we are here for is to help you change that current system. So if we understand your system, then we can help support in the shift and the change and move you into your future that is currently coming for you. So just being very aware when you do speak to us of wealth and of finances and of abundance, that you are doing it in an open, energetic way. You are not teaching us your squashed experience of money, but instead you are just showing exactly like if you had a maths sheet laying in front of us and you would be saying 2 + 2 = 4, just with such simple straightforwardness. There is no emotional context around you showing us that 2 + 2 = 4. It's the same. It's like showing us, currently our system is this and this and this and this and this. So being aware of what is your own energetic imprint around money and around wealth. It is the same as we speak into many times around needing to be okay with your own emotional hygiene, for example, is to be constantly clearing out what you can of your own emotional history. It's the same thing with your wealth and your abundance, your finances, your money. When you speak to us about it, is to have already done your own inner work as best as you possibly can to be able to release your emotional charge around such things, and to be able to hold a stable, clear ground for us that is not holding your conditioning. This will then allow us to understand and to move within your financial realm as it currently is. We understand this is not easy for everybody. So what we would highly recommend is those who are working with us, those who are teachers to us, and those who are parents to us, is to the same as we ask you to look to all areas of your emotional experience, is to please do the same in your own financial vibration, your own financial frequency, to ensure that we receive as clean a transmission as possible from you. If you are actually currently not able to do that, if your current position does not allow you to give us a clear transmission, then we just ask you that you find someone who does have that clear transmission for us, and ask them to teach us around what is your current system and how it is that we can move with that system so that we can create the shift and change for you. But basically, for us, abundance is normal. Instant manifestation for us is completely normal. For us, our belief is that we will always have everything it is that we need. And so just trying not to squash that understanding and that belief within us is the best way to support us.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Yeah, we feel that that is complete for now. Well, there you go.
Yay.
I did want to talk to you.
I'm excited. I don't know how to explain it. I felt like I was energetically receiving the transmission, but I wasn't necessarily hearing all the words. So I'm excited to go back and listen to this podcast. So for those of you that are listening, this may be one that you want to listen to a few times. I don't know about you, Z, but I feel like when channeled information is coming through, we receive it on so many different levels, spiritually, energetically, mentally, physically. So it sometimes takes several times to absorb it. I'm sure the same is going to be true of your book. Like, we're going to have to consume it multiple times to be able to receive all of the benefits of it. So that was epic. I started taking notes, and then I was like, nope, I'm just going to receive it. Obviously, I'm very interested in this because I teach on this subject, and I really definitely want to know how to, bring through our transmission of wealth. But, I'm all for the collapse and restructure and instant manifestation, as you know. So it all sounds really good to me. I'm like, let's do it now.
Yeah, totally. Well, it's interesting. I'm looking forward to listening back to it too, because like what happens is when I'm in that space of medium, I have no idea of what they say. I get myself so far out of the way that it's nothing to do with me. And so I look forward to listening to it as well. And it is like, anyone who has just listened to that, if you were really just listening and not feeling, and you're a feeling type of person, is go back and drop into your feeling body and receive. Because a lot of people as well who've like read the book are having wild activations and very visceral experiences if they're a feeling type of person. So I would definitely recommend just listening to it again without the mind in the way, and just feel what they have to say.
Amazing. So I would love for you to share, and I would love to talk to you about the thing, from my perspective, my observation of you over the last year or so is that once you really started stepping into being a channel and channeling through this information and really owning your purpose, that life has shifted dramatically for you financially. And so I just would love for you to speak on that, because I know there's so many people out there that they know what their purpose work is, or they know their purpose, but they're afraid to fully step into it for whatever reason. And lots of times that reason is that we're afraid that we can't be fully financially supported if we step into our purpose, because sometimes it seems so out there to us. So I would love to hear you talk about this, because I have seen you make such amazing shifts in this year. And I know that you're going to have some really valuable information to share.
Yeah. It's, It's so interesting. I spent just so much of my life well, actually all of my life in debt. I had my first credit card from the age of 15. Sorry, Mum, if you listen to this and hear that. But I had my first store credit card from 15, and I lived my entire life in debt. I just thought that was the normal way to be. And about a year ago, I was still in massive credit card debt. Like I think I had 20 or 30 grand. And I had a belief that I guess I couldn't have financial freedom was really part of my belief. I couldn't have it if I was doing my purpose work. And I was already starting to step into my purpose work. So then there was like even more of this belief of like, oh, if I'm really stepping into this, I don't get to charge properly. I need to live in some kind of form of poverty. And I started really shifting and moving through that, I guess, in the last couple of years. But in the last year, the thing that really shifted and changed was I was like, well, I'm on this planet for a reason. I have a purpose. I have a gift that needs to be brought to the world. And I literally asked, like there was a moment with the Blue Diamond Souls where I was like, okay, so yes, 100% yes from me. I'm going to bring your work and step, part of it was that they were like, well, you have to step more into your own purpose. You have to step more into your leader. You have to be willing to be seen. You have to be willing to be out in the world. You have to move beyond your own limiting beliefs, because you can't bring us through if you're hiding from the world, number one. So that thing to them was like, I'm on board 100% with this, but I need to know that I'm going to be okay financially. I can't jump into this and then, be trying to deal with debt, because I knew that, for example, to put out a book from a place of like, I need money for the book, like is not serving anybody, because actually it costs a lot of money to put out a book into the world. So it's like, I started to create this mindset and this conversation with not only the Blue Diamond Souls, but with, I guess, my soul's purpose. My soul is like, if you want me to fully step into what I'm here to do, I'm willing to go in, I'm all in. Like I would die for this, but I need all the resources that I'm going to need to be able to do this. And everything started to change from that. It was literally an inner decision of I'm fucking all in. It literally was this piece of like, this is what I live for and I would die for this. And so therefore I need to be supported in the world for it. And stuff changed. Like now when I look back, I'm like, I don't even know how I paid off the credit card. Like I literally, it wasn't even a strategy. It was just I need this done, and it happened. Like, otherwise I just couldn't even be here. The amount of this year, the amount of money that's been invested into a book and a website and a whatever, I couldn't have even done it. I just couldn't have. And so, I really feel like for people who are scared to fully step into their purpose and their soul's work, it's like actually owning it. Like if it's truly actually your soul's path, you will feel it. And if you feel it and you're all in on that, the money story has to change. You can't carry the old beliefs anymore. So it's full conviction, live and die for it, and it changes.
Yeah, no plan B. So this is the thing that I talk about all the time, where I'm like, it is the decision. It is the decision that, no, this is what I'm going to do. But you equally get to decide that you're not going to struggle while you do it. Because if you continue to buy into the belief that you're going to struggle, you're going to struggle. If you believe that purpose equals poverty, it's going to equal poverty. But you get to choose. You get to choose in that moment to say, no, purpose actually equals prosperity. Fulfilling my divine mission work on this planet is the thing that enables me to be wildly financially abundant and supported.
Yeah. I mean, when you can look at it, I guess, now from this place that I sit in, which if it was a year ago, it would be a different experience. But now that I feel like I'm living more of it, why would I not be financially supported and financially cared for to be able to bring these gifts in the world? Like it just, even now when I look at it, and like, it doesn't make any sense. If I have a purpose and my soul has a purpose here, then of course I'm going to be provided with everything. It's like, I look around to the earth and it's like, okay, well, of course I'm provided. I've got air, there's water out there. If I need water, there's food. Like I'm always going to have everything that I possibly need. So why would it not be the same when it comes to the energy of money? And starting to move that shift away from like, oh yeah, I'll just have what I need to like buy my groceries, and realizing, but if I'm walking a big game in this world, then I need money in the bank. Like it's plain and simple. If I'm going to make a big shift in the world, Like if I'm going to invest massive amounts of money into amazing platforms, well, where's that going to come from unless I fully believe and change my wealth story? And it has changed, and now it's being invested into freaking amazing platforms and books and all the things that allows me to realize I can make a difference in the world. Kind of exciting.
I love it. And I'm so happy. I mean, selfishly, I'm so happy to see you shift that and to step into it, because obviously I've felt since I've known you that you were so worthy and so deserving. And I say selfishly because for me, it's been really difficult to have, all of these amazing people. I have all of these amazing people around me that are doing this amazing work in the world, and they're all struggling.
Yeah.
And, then they're looking at me and they're like, you're not struggling. And I'm like, yeah, because I made a decision that I wasn't going to do that anymore. So I feel like, I'm so glad that you're coming along, and now it's like, oh, now I get to live this amazing life with you, and I have somebody to talk to about it also, which is great. But it's, now there's two, and there's more than two of us, right? But now there's two. So now it's like, yes, this is doable. Now it's not just one talking about it. Now it's two, and then it becomes three, and then it becomes four, and then it becomes five. And, then the next thing we're all living the life that we deeply desire and being wildly financially abundant doing it. And then the world is actually changing and shifting because we're able to focus completely on our divine mission work and on our purpose work, instead of worrying about how we're going to fucking pay our house payment or our car payment or buy groceries, right?
Yeah. I mean, you saw, like, what was it? Yeah, it was 12 months ago, and I was trying to do like a crowd fund to raise $20,000 to be able to do this, this platform that I really, really believed in. And I didn't end up getting the $20,000. And like, I went into all this like upset and devastation about it, that I couldn't raise the money to do the thing I believed I was here to do. And then the mindset shift now is like, oh, actually, I don't need to be doing a crowd fund. What I need to be doing is just continuing on my path. And eventually that money will be there to create the platform. It's like a completely different mindset. I guess I came from the mindset of like, now everybody else has to help me. And why didn't everybody else give me enough money for me to create the thing that I wanted to create? The lesson I had to learn was it's not about other people needing to give me the money to create what I want to create.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely. Absolutely. We could go on. We could start a whole new podcast on that topic. Maybe I'll have you back to talk about that. I do want to end on something that's a little controversial though. We were speaking about it just for a few minutes before we hopped on the podcast. And I think it's an important message to put out into the world because I see it happening so much. And I believe that it's really detrimental to our ability as a collective to raise out of this financial slavery consciousness that we find ourselves in. And that is people's perceptions and projections that they put onto those of us who are finding success doing our purpose work. So I don't know if you're open to sharing the experience that you have been having recently. I have a lot to say on this, but I would love to just hear you talk about it. And I want to just put it out there in the world. I want people to actually hear from our perspective, what this feels like, what this is, right? And how we can avoid this so that we can, as a collective, rise to a place where we're all empowered to step into our purpose and we're all empowered to be prosperous and financially abundant.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's the first time I've really received these projections, and there's a couple of things. One is it's uncomfortable for me, but then the second piece is like, well, it's showing that something has changed in my energetic field, right? If I've never received projections from people before around money and now suddenly I am, then obviously my vibration has changed. But I had the experience this week of someone really throwing quite a massive projection on me around money, that I had all this money and I've gone and bought a fancy house in Bali, and that I'm, not supportive of my clients, and just all these stories. And it's like, well, actually, the truth is I downsized into a smaller house that I'm renting in Bali because I'm stuck here, which is a pretty freaking amazing place to be stuck, not complaining at all. But it was like, okay. And also because of that, being, here now, I also have an apartment sitting in Sydney that I'm paying a mortgage on that's empty. Like there are things, but it's like, I guess when we're projecting upon one another that it's bad to have money, or it's bad to earn money, or it's bad to look like you have money, I felt like I was being shamed, to be completely brutally honest with you, of like, a an ex-client sent me some messages, and they really were blaming me for something that wasn't true, that was perceived as their truth. But I didn't know how to be with that, because it's like, well, you're shaming me because you think I have something that I don't necessarily have, and you're trying to actually drag me down, when I really think that's sad, actually. Like, I feel like, don't we want to be supporting each other and building each other up, and maybe actually asking the facts if you need to ask the facts, instead of assuming that I have something that, and then I'm doing something bad with it. I don't know. I don't even know. It's like, so, I can feel my whole body so uncomfortable to like talk about it, because it's so new to me. But I'm confused, I guess. It's almost like this projection of the haves and the have-nots. And I find that that's quite devastating to us as humanity. You can never assume what somebody else has, you know, this projection. Oh, she's gone and bought a fancy house in Bali. Well, the reality is I've downsized. So by that projection, you're taking away something from me, because you're in my energy field, and also you're taking away something from yourself, because now you're thinking that it's bad. So what if I bought some amazing house in Bali? Wouldn't you want to cheer me on, and then also find out how you can go on to the same path? So I guess there's this confusion for me on why, as humans, we want to tear each other down and assume that we know everything. And, you know, I know you get enough of that as well. It's like you talk about money, and then everybody thinks that dollar bills stuck all over your face all the time.
Yeah, that I have unlimited resources, right? Well, I mean,
it's
I
like
think
not true.
yeah, it's important, I think, to talk about this for a couple of reasons. One is that these projections that we have, and these places where we move into defense mode, like when we perceive that someone has what we don't have, or we perceive that they've wronged us in some way because we don't understand the full picture. My belief and my knowing actually is that this 100% has been conditioned and programmed into us. And it has been conditioned and programmed into us to keep us under control, to keep us playing small, and to keep us from stepping fully into our purpose. The global financial elite cannot successfully control a global financial agenda where the people are empowering each other. So as a result, this programming and conditioning has been constructed and created to keep us keeping each other down. And so it's this automatic reaction. And so, you know, when this happens to me, it happens to me a lot. When this happens to me, I used to get very uncomfortable too. It used to make me sad, especially if it was coming from people that I cared about, or that I'd worked with, or clients, or were friends, or even family members, right? I used to get really upset, and I would take it really personally. And I would be like, well, why wouldn't they just ask me? Or why would they assume the worst of me? Why would they assume that I'm doing the worst? And as I've moved through doing this work, and as I've channeled my own information through about, you know, what's happening here on the planet and what's coming for us in the future, I'm filled with compassion now for those people, because what I see is that it's a knee-jerk reaction. It's a knee-jerk reaction that's been programmed into us. We believe that our safety is threatened. The feeling that has been programmed and conditioned into us is, if you are more successful than me, my safety is threatened. So as a result, I have to do whatever is necessary to hold you down, or to affect you energetically and emotionally, so that you stop thriving, you stop growing, you stop moving up, you stop breaking through your glass ceilings and your barriers. It's that crab bucket mentality. No crab gets out of the bucket. We all have to stay down here together, because when we all stay down together, we are in control. When we begin escaping, and then people see, oh, she can do it, I can do it too. Oh, he can do it, I can do it too. The whole thing fucking falls apart. It is absolutely where we're moving, but this is a very real part of our existence right now. And because of the state of the world, people are losing their shit. They're projecting all over each other. And so, you know, I loved what you said, because what I was going to say is, so what if you bought a house in Bali? So what if you, whatever it is that you're doing, you bust your ass. You are working hard on multiple things at once. And to believe that, like, oh, you were able to do this one thing because I paid you this money, or, you know, it's like, well, actually, no, there are multiple streams of revenue that come into me. And I work hard in many ways. I work hard energetically. I work hard emotionally. I work hard mentally. I work hard physically. I have learned, and you are learning, and you have learned to master manifestation for yourself. And you get to reap the benefits of that. And you do not deserve to be shamed for that. I do think it's fascinating that people just assume, I mean, it's like I teach wealth consciousness work. I, live an amazing life in Bali. I travel a lot with my family. We are, my kids are in private school. We are provided for very, very well, but people assume I have unlimited resources. And so they expect me to behave in a certain way, or they attempt to take advantage of me. And they're like, well, why do you care? You have all the money in the world. And I'm like, well, it's not actually true. I'm working on it, but it's not actually true right in this moment.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on behind the scenes that you may not know about, like that I employ 4 people, that I have 4 other contractors that I'm responsible for paying, that I have house staff that I pay, that I have a house payment. I have tuition payments for my kids. I mean, there's so much, right? Where I could sit and explain myself for hours about how I use my money and where my money goes and how I distribute my resources. But ultimately, that's not serving me or them either. That is me trying to defend something that doesn't need defending, right? Ultimately. So I bring it up just to say, we can do better. Like, we can do better. And when we buy into those knee-jerk reactions, we're doing it. We're not at fault. We're doing it because that's what we've been programmed to do, but we get to decide. We get to decide to shift that. We get to decide to change that. And I think you hit the nail right on the head, which was how we shift it and how we change it is by having open dialogue. And if something that I've done is triggering to you, then you come and have a conversation and talk to me about it, right? And maybe I don't want to talk to you about it, but if we each do our own part, which is owning our own shit and then trying to make relationships better, then a lot of this stuff begins to crumble and they no longer control us in that way.
Yeah, I think it's open conversation piece to me that I'm more open to than people projecting their stuff all over me. Don't assume. What's the line, like assumption makes an ass of you and me. It's like that. Don't assume you know anything about anybody else's life, and if it's something that you feel you need to know, then ask them that question, and let's not shame each other for our experience. Like, I really noticed my contraction from that, and even this, like, we've just bought a freezer because we're going to make an ice bath, and I wanted to post, and I noticed my contraction around, don't post that you're creating your own ice bath, because then people will think that you have all this money. And I was like, that's an old, which, I'm grateful for that piece coming up, because then I got to see, there's an old bit of conditioning that I still haven't looked at that one yet, right? That's an old piece. So I'm super grateful that I got shown it. Yeah, let's stop tearing each other down, please.
Yeah.
Like, around
all the work.
No,
this is the work
money.
though, right?
Yeah.
This is what we're here to do. This is why we're here.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. This was amazing. I feel like, as always, we could talk for hours and hours and hours. And I feel like I need to have you back because I want to definitely talk to you more about womb spiral. So we'll schedule another time for you to come back on the show. I'm so excited about your book. I'm super happy to be able to help you promote it here. We will definitely drop all the links and all the ways to reach Zapheria on social media. She is Zapheria Bell on Instagram, and we'll drop her Facebook handles below, as well as her website, and definitely give you a working link where you can purchase the Blue Diamond Souls book.
Absolutely. Yep. Definitely found a working way to do it now.
Yay. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. And I'm excited the Blue Diamond Souls were happy to talk to you. I'm like, wow, that's kind of cool. So thank you.
Me too. I feel special.
That's a wrap. Thank you for joining me. Remember, wealth is a mindset, and you absolutely deserve to live the life you deeply desire. And with belief and intention, you create your reality. Until next time, this is Leah Steele, the Wealth Witch.